Yo, what's going on, everybody? This is nothing but bangers, aka MBB, aka bangers, aka I am MBB, or just MBB. I have a bunch of usernames, so that way, if you recognize me in the app, that's what I usually go by. But what I want to get into today, for all of you Pokemon fans out there, maybe you have access to the app already, maybe you recently moved to New Zealand, or maybe you're just watching this video after, we've already had the global release. I hope that this video ages very well, because this is going to be one of the first videos that's showcasing multiple decks as well as the packs that you can target in order to build each of these decks. Now, you may be wondering, yo, MBB, how did you come across all of this data and info? Well, I want to give a big shout out to Serebii.net. That has been the source for a lot of Pokemon info throughout the decades now. And they came up with another banger lately by being able to figure out what cards are in each packs, as well as graphics and pictures of all of them. So I'm going to be using this site to reference a lot of the cards that I'm mentioning in this video. So let's get to the first deck. And I do have some spicy brews, including a Steel type with Melmetal and Mawile deck. I have a Dragonite deck that splashes a little bit of water as well. So I've got some different ideas that I want to brew with, but I'm going to give you the basic decks first. So let's get into the first deck. And all of these decks, in my opinion, that I'm showing are probably the top decks in terms of archetypes for right now. And you're going to notice a lot of carryover with trainers and supporters. Now, that is one thing that can be flexible. We'll talk about what best turn ones and turn twos you can probably look for, so that way you can have an idea of how to build and play these decks as well. So, Pikachu EX, Zapdos EX with a Magnemite and Magneton evolution line. Then you've got Voltorb and Electrode. And for your supporters and trainers, you've got X-Speed that helps you kind of save energy and retreat, as well as lower the retreat cost of Magneton down to 1. Then you've got Pokeball to thin the deck. You've got Professor's Research, which I call Pot of Greed. Pot of Greed, you basically draw 2 cards. And then you've got Sabrina, which allows you to mess with your opponent's tempo. Maybe they're only playing one basic at a time, on their bench, and you can go ahead and force them to switch and get a KO. That's very necessary. Or maybe, they've, tried to switch out, and so Sabrina helps you reach into their bench, or maybe cut off what they're trying to build up. So as far as turn 1 go, you're really looking, in my opinion, you're looking for, hey, can I get a turn 1 attack in if I need to, and then set up my evolution on the bench. Now, you'll notice that there's no normal types or anything like that. There's no splashes, because in order to take full advantage of Pikachu EX, you need to have lightning type, electric type, right? Basics or evolution Pokemon on your bench. So this is going to go ahead and lead into why there's nothing but electric types. Now, you may be wondering, MBB, what's going on with Electrode and Magneton? Magneton is not going to hit for a lot of damage. However, it's going to be a nice secondary attacker, as well as, a little bit of ramp. And when you play games like Pokemon, you try to find cards that break the rules of the game. That, one rule of this game is you can only attach 1 energy per turn. Well, with Magneton loading up on your bench, and you having a primary attacker already in your active, whether it's Zapdos or whether it's Pikachu, you're able to kind of build up multiple threats at once. So you're able to continue attacking your opponents. You're able to switch out, which is very big. Don't be afraid to switch out and put forward another attacker. And that's one thing that Electrode allows you to do. And that's one thing that Magneton allows you to do. So what you're looking at here, in a lot of these games, you're willing to give up, hey, I'll give up one of my Pokemon, and then I'm going to use my GXs to do a lot of the damage. But with decks like this, you're able to get a lot of damage with Electrode and Magneton if you're able to build them up on their bench, okay? So again, turn 1, you're hopefully attacking while setting up your evolutions on the bench. Turn 2, hopefully, if you drew really, really well, your turn 2, you should, and you were able to go ahead and attach and evolve, you could be potentially attacking for as much as 90 damage by your turn 2, okay? So again, there's going to be different scenarios where, hey, you had to go first or you had to go second, but just kind of looking at the idea of this deck, again, you're trying to get a primary attacker early with Zapdos or Voltorb. and then you're trying to load up, your Magneton, you're trying to load up your Pikachu. And again, you've got a little diversity here, and you've got energy ramp as well. As far as trainers and supporters, again, X speed is going to be very important in my opinion, because you're going to want to be able to switch out without losing energies. And so just in case you need that card later in the game, you're able to still pull it out. And then 2, X speed is just one of those things that allows you to free retreat. Maybe you put out Zapdos GX to soak up some damage. Well, now your X speed is going to allow you to free retreat it into your main attacker, your primary attacker. So, by the way, color coding. If the card is highlighted in a yellow background, that means it's in the Pikachu pack. If the card is highlighted in a red background, that means it is in a Charizard pack. Now, why is there no labels for X speed, Pokeball, and Pot of Greed? Well, those cards are going to be obtained through the shop usually. So there's just some different ways to obtain those cards. The second deck that I'm going to highlight is going to be a water-based deck. So this is going to leverage Starmie EX and Articuno EX, and then it's going to have other ways of doing damage with Greninja. So there's not necessarily ramp in this deck, but if you've seen Greninja, Greninja is a really strong card because its ability allows you to place 20 damage on any of your opponent's Pokemon. So it could be active or bench, and that's its ability. So you can basically do 80 damage in one turn with just Greninja. When you look at Starmie EX, the reason why Starmie EX is really good is because it has free retreat and a cheap attack. 2 energy for 90 damage and free retreat. So it makes you really flexible with being able to get in and out of the active position. And, that's free retreat is something that's very hard to come by in this game period so far. And that's by design. So again, what's your turn 1 looking like? Well, hey, your turn 1 ideally is you're setting up your Staryu. Maybe you have to, stall for time. And so you've got your Articuno in the active. But again, you could also have your Froakie. Hopefully that's on the bench. Just to be real honest, that's probably the best case that you could have. You're building it up on your bench. And then again, your primary attackers are going to be your Starmie EX and then potentially your Articuno, coming in. And there's some good synergy here too. The synergy with bench damage is very important. So what do I mean by synergy with bench damage? So you've got Greninja able to snipe. Even if it's on your bench, it can snipe, right? And then you've got Articuno EX that's able to Blizzard for 3 energy, which is pretty pricey, but it does 10 damage to your opponent's bench Pokemon as well. And again, if you're wondering, MBB, I don't know what these cards do. Well, again, that's why having a source like Serebii is really good. And you can go ahead and quickly just look up what these do. So again, you've got Blizzard, 140 HP, 80 base damage, and 40 base damage for Ice Wing. When you go ahead and take a look at Greninja, let's make sure that we have these cards for reference. I probably should have done this for the electric deck, but I'm kind of assuming that you know what these cards do, or you can look them up as well if you can't read them on the screen. So again, once per turn, you may do 20 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. And again, that's from anywhere on your side to their side, okay? And then again, Starmie, I'll go ahead and pull this one up as well, just so we can have this for reference. So Starmie, very beautiful art. This is the full art. But you've got a 2 energy Hydro Splash, no extra effects for 90 damage, and again, the free retreat. So again, the trainers, pretty much the same. Pot of Greed to thin your deck, Professor's Research. Pokeball to search your basics. X Speed to be able to maneuver around, and then Sabrina to force switches, make your opponent in bad situations, maybe bring out your last prize or your last KO that you need as well. So again, very, very interesting deck so far for people that are just kind of looking to figure out, hey, what pack do I want to target? Like for the most part, you can pretty much say, hey, the Charizard pack is really good for trying to build this deck, and then you've got the Mewtwo pack. That's the purple background there. All right. So, by the way, if you're enjoying this content, please make sure to drop a thumbs up and make sure you guys do that, and maybe even subscribe so that way you can see more of this content. I do a lot of different videos for different things that I enjoy. My YouTube channel is kind of just my way of being creative, and just having fun. But again, it helps more people see these videos and just kind of grows the community for this new Pokemon Pocket TCG. All right, getting to the grass deck. Now, personally, I think this deck is probably, it's one of the stronger picks in my opinion, because again, Charizard, one of its biggest counters, it takes a while to get going, and stage 2 decks are really tough. Like, that's the one thing about stage 2 decks. You know, it's hard to have a stage 2 deck sometimes because you're really reliant on drawing the stage 2. And by stage 2, I mean, like, you know, it's got 2 evolutions, right? So you've got Ivysaur, then Venusaur here. But for, you know, the meantime, while you're trying to build up to your Venusaur, hopefully you're able to take advantage of using Executor EX. Hard to say for whatever reason. And it's a really cheap energy attack. So that's the balance with this deck, right? The balance with this deck, it's kind of similar to the electric deck, where you have low cost energy attacks, and then you've got your high cost energy attacks. But the thing is, you can build up your high cost energy attacks while you're using and pushing damage with Executor EX. So what's going on with the Pokemon in this deck? So let's make sure we pull these up just in case you're not sure what they do. So Venusaur EX, really powerful once it gets going. Once Venusaur EX gets going, it's very tough to stop. I mean, very tough to stop. So that's one of the big strengths with this deck, is once it gets going, it's very powerful. So keep that in mind when you're going up against a Venusaur deck and when you're playing it. So again, that's why it's super important to, you know, be setting it up on your bench, but be pushing damage with your Executor GX. Now you may be wondering, all right, what's Executor GX do? Or EX, I'm sorry. So Executor EX has a big booty. It's got 160 HP, so it's going to take multiple turns to knock it out, unless, you know, you're up against a Charizard very early, which should be pretty hard to do unless your opponent's really lucky with Moltres. And again, what you're doing here is you're basically saying, hey, I'm pushing for damage. I'm potentially pushing for 80 damage a turn with a coin flip, but a base damage of 40. So you could be doing a base damage of 40 to 80 damage on turn 2, on your turn 2. Okay, so again, yeah, you're trying to build up your Venusaur in your bench, trying to evolve it, and then your active, hopefully, is an Executor. And you know, here's the thing. Your Pokeball is going to search one of 2 Pokemon. So as long as your Pokeball, you know, as long as you're able to get to your Pokeball or your Professor's Research, your Pot of Greed, you're able to thin your deck, which is the reason why they're in here. And then you'll notice Erica is a really big deal in this deck. Erica heals your Grass-type Pokemon for 50 HP. It's a supporter, so you can only play 1 supporter per turn. So keep that in mind. There's a really big advantage to that. So with Venusaur and Executor, they're already big. They got big booties, 160 HP and 190 HP. So when you start healing with Erica, and then again, the other big thing is with Venusaur, it heals 30 on its own when it attacks with that 4 energy attack. So you could potentially heal as much as 80 damage in 1 turn on your Venusaur and really take it out of range of being 1-hit KO'd. And so you're doing 100, healing 30, dealing 100, that's 130 points of damage potentially swinging in your favor. So again, you know, this deck is very powerful, and I think one of the biggest reasons why it's hard to counter is because fire takes a lot to get going. And so, you know, not a lot of the decks so far are going to be able to, you know, climb the mountain of knocking out, because they're going to have to knock out potentially 2 EX Pokemon unless they get an early KO, you know, on your Bulbasaur, Venusaur, or Execute. That's it. Yeah. So again, probably one of the stronger decks. If I was having to like look at advantages, I would say that this has probably the most advantages over other decks, if I was kind of comparing. So if you're looking to build this deck, the Mewtwo pack is going to be helpful. And again, if you're looking for, you know, the Executor. By the way, I just realized that, here we go. Let's fix this. This should be red. So this should be red. The Execute is going to be in the Charizard pack, so keep that in mind. But again, Mewtwo and Charizard packs going to be where you're going to build most of this deck. All right. Now moving on. So the next deck, again, a lot of love for Mewtwo. A lot of, you know, when I saw this card, I thought it was the strongest card because turn 2 you're dealing 50 and it's got a big body. But let's talk about this deck a little bit more, because you'll notice I have Jinx in here. So there's a couple of cards in here that let's highlight. And by the way, if you're going to build this deck, the Mewtwo pack, which obviously makes sense. A lot of Psychic, right? The Mewtwo pack is going to be probably your go-to for this deck. So how does this deck work? So this deck has a Stage 2 and Gardevoir. Gardevoir breaks one of the rules of the game. Okay, what rule is that? It allows you to attach energies to your active Pokemon if it's a Psychic. So you can have Gardevoir on your bench and it's attaching, you're basically ramping energy to your active Pokemon if it's a Psychic. Okay, so basically your goal, let's build up this Gardevoir, let's evolve it on my bench while I'm pushing damage with either Jinx or Mewtwo. Okay, and so what does Jinx do? Now, Jinx is one of those cards that can counter a lot of decks that rely on ramping energy. So basically, if your opponent has it's a 2 energy attack and it's got 80 hit points, and basically what you're doing with Jinx is you're dealing 20 damage, or excuse me, you're dealing 30 damage plus 20 damage for each energy that's attached to your opponent's Pokemon. So if your opponent has 2 energies and you have Psychic and you're attacking, you're dealing 30 plus 40, you're doing 70 damage a turn. Okay, so this could very well be doing 70 damage on your turn 2. But again, with decks like that are trying to ramp and have large amounts of energy, this is a good EX killer. Or it can put that EX in 2-hit KO range, which is huge. Okay, it's very huge. So again, Jinx, very important in my opinion for being able to say, hey, it's a non-EX attacker. It's able to push large amounts of damage. And even in the matchups that it's not great against, it's still pushing, 50 damage, which is, not great, but 50 damage is what Mewtwo does for 2 energy. Okay. So again, I think that Jinx has been very good in all of my playing with it. Very, very intrigued by that card. And let's get to the main hitter, the Mewtwo EX. Mewtwo EX is going to deal 50 damage for 2 energies, or if you're able to ramp it up with Gardevoir and keep the energies flowing, you're able to go ahead and deal 150 for 4 energy, but you have to discard 2 Psychic type energies. Okay, so again, you usually want to save that last attack, but sometimes you just have to launch it and say, hey, we're gonna go ahead and just go into a grind game. But again, Mewtwo EX, very powerful second attack that allows you to really change the game and usually one-hit KO a lot of Pokemon in this game. And if it's not a Pokemon that you can one-hit KO, hopefully Jinx is dealing some of that damage and then your Mewtwo is coming in and sweeping up the rest. Okay, now one of the big reasons that I have Potion in this deck is to keep your Pokemon alive for maybe an extra turn, so that way you can evolve it, or maybe you can get that game-winning attack with it. Pokeball, standard, right? You want to make sure that you're hitting your basics, and again, if you're thinking about when to sequence, when do I play Pokeball if I have Pokeball and Pot of Greed in my hand, right? In my opinion, the game theory is you play Pokeball to thin your deck of your basics, and you play Professor's Research to draw your evolutions and your other trainers. Okay, so I always sequence my turns by playing Pokeball first and then playing Professor's Research after. That's what I try to do. X speed is there to make sure that you can get out of your active spot. Sometimes you're going to need to retreat, so you might have a scenario where you're retreating your Kirlia that's inactive with X speed, and then you're evolving it. You're evolving Gardevoir after you retreat, because again, you might have no energies, right? So you want to retreat first because it would be a free retreat with Kirlia. With Gardevoir, it's going to cost you 2 energies, so X speed is going to make you, still discard an energy to retreat. So, you can X speed out of the active, put in your Jinx or put in your Mewtwo, attach an energy, ramp it, and then potentially hit, for a 2 energy attack, or potentially hit for a 4 energy attack if you're talking about Mewtwo. So again, Sabrina's just there to help you reach to the bench and make your opponent, hey, they may be stalling with their active. Well, Sabrina makes them, change that game plan potentially a little bit. So again, pretty simple deck, but again, very effective. Again, it's just one of those things where I think that Mewtwo has one of the better attacks in the game, and Gardevoir helps you, mitigate that discarding impact, because even if you get your Mewtwo going and Gardevoir on the bench, you're attaching 2 energy per turn. So you could potentially be doing 150 every turn, right? That's best case scenario. All right, the last deck that I'm going to talk about today, and again, I did mention I have some spicy brews in my personal decks tab. We'll talk about those later, at another video. But let's get to the Charizard deck, which has the potential to high roll and just potentially just destroy the meta. If you high roll with this deck, it's very hard to beat. The other comparable deck would probably be, a deck that features Misty, right? But let's talk about Charizard, let's talk about Moltres, and let's talk about Salazzle. Let's talk about this deck just a little bit more in detail. So, early game, you're wanting to get to your Moltres, or you're putting in your Salandit as your active. You probably want to avoid putting in Charmander in your active, and you're probably wanting to X speed out of it as soon as you can to put your Moltres in your active, or worst case, your Salandit in your active. Now, why is that the case? Let's look at Moltres. So Moltres EX, again, very powerful attack when it comes to ramp. In this ramp, you could hit 3 tails, which is going to suck, right? But hitting 1 tail, pretty solid, really helps you ramp. Hitting 2 or more, you're just feeling good about life. Okay, so this is going to have a base HP of 140 HP, and it's going to have an energy attached to it to use this first attack. You're probably not using that second attack, probably. Okay, so let's talk about the first attack, Inferno Dance. So you're going to flip 3 coins for every heads. From your energy zone, you attach an energy to one of your bench fire Pokemon. So that's how you're going to ramp your Charizard. That's how you're going to ramp your Salazzle, right? So you'll notice this has 2 retreat costs, and that's another reason why we have X speed in here. You don't want to just give your opponent a free 2 prizes by knocking out your Moltres because you're trying to ramp. You want to get 2 chances to ramp at most, right? Maybe 3 if you're lucky, and then X speed out of there and put in your main attacker, which could be your Charizard or it could be your Salazzle, okay? Because again, Moltres has that 2 retreat cost, but X speed makes it 1. You already have an energy attached to it because that's how you're using that first attack to ramp out your other attackers. Now, what does Charizard do? If you don't know what Charizard does, oh man, check this out. It is an absolute banger in terms of damage. 200 damage for its 4 energy attack, knocks out 1-hit KOs every single Pokemon in the game right now. It's the most powerful attack, which is on that's what we expect from Charizard. If you've been, around since the base set, that Fire Spin attack, it's an OG banger, man. So again, Charizard EX, 100 HP, so it's pretty thick. It's got a big booty, a lot of HP. So you're trying to ramp this card on your bench and evolve it, from Charmander to Charmeleon to Charizard eventually. But you're trying to ramp it with Moltres, and again, 60 damage for that first attack slash, but Crimson Storm is going to be where you're going to wrap up a lot of your games, and hopefully you're able to ramp it up. Hopefully you're able to deal chip damage, right? Chip damage, put your opponent in a little bit of a position where, hey, if my Charizard just needs to come in and clean up. Okay, Salazzle is how you get your other damage in my opinion. I don't think that we have another Pokemon that does what Salazzle does. You could say maybe Magmar, right? You could, there's some other potential fire Pokemon that you could use, but in my opinion, maybe you could go Ninetales, right? But this 1 retreat cost is going to be free retreat if you have X speed. But again, this is going to deal 60 damage for 2 energy. Again, compare that to Mewtwo that was doing 50 damage for 2 energy. So again, this is how you're going to get, hopefully, if you don't have Moltres in your active, maybe you're pushing forward with Salazzle, or the Pokemon that it evolves from, Salandit, early while you build up your Charmander into Charmeleon into Charizard. So again, I think that this deck, if it high rolls, if you start with Moltres and you start flipping heads and you're able to draw your evolutions to get to that Charizard, I think that this deck has probably the highest potential high roll out of every deck. Again, the water weakness is a little tough because again, Starmie EX is just going to eat that up. Greninja is going to put pressure on your Pokemon, and it can get a little tricky. So again, out of all the decks that I've put, personally, Again, I do probably lean towards the grass deck, but again, it's a stage 2 deck, so it's a little tricky. But if you're trying to build this deck, the Charizard pack is probably going to be where you're going to need the bulk of these cards, because it's going to have 2 of the EXs, and then this Landit and this Lazzle. You could probably find ways to get it through the Wonder picks. But again, Mewtwo packs are going to have those cards. Just to remind everybody again, the pack that if you want to build the Psychic deck, there's Mewtwo cards. So maybe opening up Mewtwo packs. If you're trying to build the Venusaur deck, again, Mewtwo packs with this little splice of the Charizard packs. And then again, if you're wanting to build a water deck, make sure you're looking at that Charizard pack with a little splash of the Mewtwo pack. And if you're looking to build the electric deck, that's going to be mostly Pikachu. You can probably pick up the Sabrinas through there's like a pack credit system that you can use. I think Sabrina's 70 of those. So you can use those 70 pack credits to get the Sabrinas and then just rip nothing but Pikachu packs. So again, figure out what you want to build. You can actually build your own spreadsheet too and say, hey, I need 10 cards from Pikachu and 10 cards from Charizard, or 10 cards from Mewtwo, and I need 5 cards from Charizard. So you could build 2 decks at one time just by focusing on specific packs. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope that this helped you. Let me know what decks you're using. Drop it in the comments. I want to know. You can catch me streaming on Twitch and on YouTube, and I look forward to seeing you then. And until next time, peace.